Warning. Listening to this show may result in increased levels of inspiration, motivation, and innovation. Side effects can include the immediate urge to take massive action to build a better business and life for yourself and others. You've been warned. Welcome to Influencers Radio with your host, Jack Mize.
And welcome back to another episode of Influencers Radio. Today we're going to dive right in because the introduction of my guest today is more than a full episode can handle. So I'm going to give you the short version. He has done just about anything you can think of. He invented the sports music industry, wrote and sang the New York Knicks theme song, Go New York Go. Also the Emmy award-winning song, I Love This Game, as well as original songs for more than 50 professional sports teams. He went on to start the record company Alphabet City. He's co-founded Marquis Jet, one of the largest private jet card companies in the world, which was acquired by Berkshire Hathaway. Then he helped pioneer the coconut water craze with Zico coconut water, which he and his partners sold to Coca-Cola. And along with his wife, Spanx founder Sara Blakely, he's also an owner of the NBA basketball team Atlanta Hawks. And, if that's not enough, the author of the best-selling book, Living with a SEAL, 31 Days, Training with the Toughest Man on the Planet. And this book, a hilarious, incredible book that chronicles 31 days of extreme fitness training when he hired a Navy SEAL to live with him and his family. So, with that, welcome to Influencers Radio. Jesse Itzler. How are you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for bearing through that. That was probably just a quarter of a fraction of your everything I could have said. So I'm going to jump right in and let me ask you the question, Jesse. When are you going to get your act together and stick with something?
I think that's the advantage of being ADD, highly ADD. You get to jump around and you get bored easily.
Well, bored easily. You seem to start multi-million-dollar companies with the same impulsiveness that most people decide to go to a movie.
I don't know about that, but I do. I am one to kind of get my foot in the door first and try to figure it all out after. So if I get an idea that I'm excited about, I try to act on it quickly and, make some mistakes, which is okay, but figure it out as I go, as opposed to talk myself out of doing it because of fear that I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Well, I think that's probably one of the big lessons that we can get out of this, because you mentioned something, a lot of mistakes, right? Most people look at what you've done, and it certainly seems like you've created a recipe for success. But I think it's important to point out that there's a few failures, or potential failures, I guess, or mistakes that are in the ingredients of that recipe. Can you talk a little bit about how some of those failures and mistakes ended up actually being part of that recipe for success?
Yeah, well, I think for a lot of people, not having prior experience in something can be a big deterrent. And a lot of people have dreams, myself included, in the past that said, you know what, I want to open a restaurant, but I have no experience in that business, or don't have any connections in the restaurant world, and they walk away from their dreams. But for me, not having any prior experience was an amazing blessing, because it guaranteed that all the things that I have gotten into would have different results. And as I always tell my employees, like, if no one told you how to do your job, how would you do it? And it's amazing what comes out of it. So the failure for me has always been kind of redefined as not trying versus the outcome of what it is, the outcome of the results that you get. So I've had a lot of regret in my life over things starting even in high school, not going out for the basketball team, out of fear, not of even getting cut. My fear was making the team and having to perform in front of people and maybe letting people down. But that regret stayed with me. I still have dreams for, 30 years later around that topic. And I just said to myself at an early age, like, I'm never going to really let fear control me or dictate what I do or don't do. So I don't like being embarrassed, but I'm not really scared of it. So that's been it was a powerful lesson for me, and it's kind of how I've been living my life since.
I know when you first started in the music industry, most people consider it a success, but you wanted to be a rapper and you kind of pretended to be someone else to get a record deal. your record didn't set you for life like you thought it was going to. And you had to kind of make some decisions there, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my goal in college was to get a record deal. That was the only thing. I wrote it down. I didn't have a resume. I wasn't going on job interviews. I just wanted to have a record deal. And when I did get my record deal, and you're right, you mentioned I pretended to be someone else. It's not the whole story, but I had faced rejection at every opportunity that I had to get into various record labels or lawyers, and I had no connections. I didn't know anyone in the music world, and it's very hard to get your demo played or get your foot in the door when you have no connection, especially in the mid 80s. So for me, I was knocking on doors, showing up at record companies, sending out demos with no response, with no luck. So when I went out to LA to visit a friend, I had cold called a record label called Delicious Vinyl. And when I went there, I had in my hand, I had a advanced copy of a demo of an advanced copy from an artist named Dana Dane. And I had read, Dana was a hip hop legend in the mid 80s. I had read that the owner of Delicious Vinyl, his favorite artist was Dana Dane. So when I landed, I cold called this independent label that was very hot at the time called Delicious Vinyl. And when I got the secretary on the phone, I said, I have an advanced copy of Dana's, and I know Mike Ross, the owner of the label, is a fan of Dana's, and she didn't really know what I was talking about. She put me on hold, and she came back on the line, and she said, Dana, Mike would love to meet you if you could be here at 2:00. So I said, Dana will be there at 2:00. So I showed up under the guise of being Dana, and ultimately that meeting, I got a record deal. So it was an interesting journey, but because I had faced rejection so much along the way, I didn't care about the consequences. Like that there was no B plan. And when I got my record deal, I made a really big mistake. That was my goal. As I mentioned, that's all I wanted, was to have the deal. But once I got the record deal, I didn't reset my goals. So, there's all kinds of studies on the importance of writing your goals down, resetting goals, taking personal inventory. And for me, that was my only goal. So I didn't put the work and the effort into it that probably I needed to do. I took my foot off the gas pedal, and, I didn't get picked up for a second album. So, another shot in the face, another kind of quote unquote failure, but it ended up being one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it took me down a different course that ended up working out great for me.
Well, yeah, and I think when people think about things working out great, and they see success, they see the sunshine and the rainbows, but success can be kind of grueling as you're actually making it happen. And I think it was almost a microcosm of that in your book, and the Living with the Seal. That 31 days is showed an ultimate success that was filled with grueling 31 days. So let's talk a little bit about that for anyone that hasn't read this book or listened to the audiobook. It's just incredible. So here you are, you're successful. You've started a few multi-million-dollar companies, started and sold. You're living in New York. And did you just wake up one day and think, I just don't have enough trauma in my life?
No, like most things in my life, this wasn't planned. I was at a race in San Diego, and it was a relay race. The format of this race, it was a 24-hour race, and the format was, you run a mile, Jack, I run a mile, our other friend runs a mile, and whatever team runs the most amount of miles in 24 hours wins the race. I was doing it with 5 friends. The guy at the starting line next to me had no one to relay with. He was his own relay team for 24 hours. And the race was unsupported, so they provided nothing. It was on a dirt, unlit parking lot in the middle of somewhere in San Diego. So I had brought in all kinds of supplies for our team, and a truck pulled up with bananas and deliveries, and we had masseuses. And this guy to my left at the start had 3 items. He had one bottle of water, a fold-up chair, and a box of crackers for 24 hours. That's it. And he weighed about 285 pounds, which is a tremendous amount of weight to carry for 24 hours of running. And sure enough, by mile 70, he had, because of his weight, literally broken all the small bones in both of his feet. He crushed them. And because he had only eaten crackers, he had kidney failure and he was peeing blood. So my first reaction was like, we got to get this guy a medic immediately and airlift him out of the race. Well, what did he do? He duct taped his feet, got out of the chair, ran another 30 miles to get to his goal, and then ran one more mile in case they miscounted. And I was like, man, I was so freaked out. And I said, I have to meet this guy. And I have to meet this guy because whatever drive he had, whatever it was, whatever that secret sauce was that got him out of the chair with broken feet and kidney failure to run the extra 30 miles just to hit his goal, if a little of that rubbed off on me, if I could teach that to my employees, if I had that drive at work, in my personal life, with my family, all the buckets of my life would be better. So I cold called him. I Googled him and learned he was a Navy SEAL. I cold called him. I met him, and just a couple of minutes into the meeting, I was like, I'm not going to get this secret sauce in a 15-minute lunch interview. And I asked him if he would move in with my family and I for a month. And he basically said, if you're crazy enough to ask someone like me to come live with you, then I'm crazy enough to come. And 3 days later, he was at my breakfast table.
And I got to say, I mean, well, one, just from that story, the fact that you didn't consider that maybe it was just a touch of insanity that made him do that, because I know through that 31 days, I mean, there was emotional, psychological, physical breakdowns, and the SEAL was having none of it, right? There was no empathy, sympathy, or it was, look, suck it up and let's go, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point in my life, like probably a lot of people listening, I was in a routine, a good routine. My routine was get up, work out, go to work, family time when I come home, dinner, and then watch a little TV and repeat. And routines are amazing, but they can also be a rut. And for me, I was so comfortable in my routine, and I thought I was operating at a high level, but I wasn't getting better. And I really needed him to come in and change my routine up, to have me because that's really where you learn about yourself. You learn about yourself when you get out of your routine, when you get uncomfortable, when you get challenged, when you get pushed to your limit, and when you can see what you're really made of. And that's kind of what I knew I was signing up for, but that's what I was craving. I wanted to see where my true potential lied. How much was I leaving on the table in different things at work and at home and personal life that I was doing? Like, what was I leaving on the table? Where was I under indexing? Where and how could I tap into my reserve tank to take everything that I was doing to another level, to another gear that I thought I had, but just had no idea how to tap into? And that's what I signed up for. And if that meant going through 31 days of being uncomfortable or challenged or broken down emotionally, then I knew that would be incredibly rewarding to me for all the years forward. And that's the reason why I wrote the book, Living with the SEAL. I wanted to be able to, people were fascinated by the physical side of it, but I wanted to really explain and understand and let people get a little bit of the mental side of it, a little bit of the secret sauce of what got him out of the chair that day.
And I think that is the secret sauce, the mental side of it. I know he had his formula. What is it, 40% that when you think that you've hit the limit? Yeah,
I mean, he had a lot of lessons that he had kind of, learned, taught himself, been centered around over the course of his years in the military. But specifically, the 40%, one of my favorite ones, was basically that when your brain says you're done, you still have 40% more in the tank. And, it's a scientific fact, Jack, that the way that our brains are wired, that the first time we experience any kind of pain or discomfort, our brain sends us a signal to stop, because our brain doesn't want us to be uncomfortable or humiliated or hurt. So it just says, that's our warning signal. Hey, guys, tap, tap on your shoulder, stop. But when you ignore that little tap on the shoulder, that little signal from your brain, you still have 40% more to go. And, that lesson has reared its face many times over the course of the last years for me, where I've been like, you know what, this stinks. I don't want to do this. I'm tired. I'm done negotiating. I'm done driving to wherever I'm going to go. I'm just going to pull out whatever the situation was. And I said to myself, no, I'm not. I still have 40% more. And that's really where the gold lies. So many people stop at the first tap on the shoulder, but the real winners, the real finishers are those that ignore the tap on the shoulder and go the extra, 40%. And just to give you an example around this, because I'm so passionate about this specific rule, every year in this country, 600,000 people sign up to run a marathon. So 600,000 people say they're going to run the longest distance that you can sign up for, 26.2 miles outside of an ultra marathon. Of those 600,000 people, 98% finish the race. 98% cross the finish line. And I would bet that almost every single one of those runners experiences what's called hitting the wall, where they get that tap on the shoulder at mile 18 to 20 that says, stop, man, what are you doing? You're tired, you're hungry, you're depleted, your feet hurt. Stop, you're going to get hurt. But why do all these people, 98% finish? Because their goal is more important to hit the goal, to finish, that they ignore the tap on the shoulder and they tap into that 40%.
And the way that you weave some of those stories in was fantastic. It's a great way that you do the storytelling teaches that lesson. I don't think anyone could get through that book without pushing themselves a little further the next day, at least. And hopefully that leads into the next week and the next month.
Right.
When's the movie coming out? That's what I want to
know. I know you. I hope that happens one day. I hope that happens. It was a lot of fun to write the book and to go through it. So it'd be great to relive it in a movie.
You certainly have taken it beyond that book, because I want you to talk a little bit about something that you started here recently that's caught fire on social media, and that's the 2017 of Everything Challenge for charity. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I just found challenges, physical challenges, emotional challenges are things that people really gravitate to. People like to do things as part of a group. Like-minded people like to come together around a specific goal. So I just decided at the start of the year that for January, between January 1 and January 31, I was going to do 2017 exercises of everything. So 2017 burpees, 2017 push-ups, 2017 sit-ups, squats, dips. And I would give myself a month to do it. And I just simply posted it on Facebook and Instagram and social media. And I said, guys, anybody who wants to participate, I'm going to do this challenge called the hashtag 2017 of everything. And just to sweeten it a little bit, I said, look, I kind of don't want to do this alone. Anybody who finishes, I'll donate $100 to the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. And what happened was, surprisingly, and I capped it at $25,000. I just having no idea what to expect. What happened was multiple people stepped up, matching my donation, and all of a sudden the pot grew to $100,000 of donations, and thousands of people all over the world joined the challenge. And they would post their stats every Monday on social media, and a community was formed within Facebook, and the challenge took on a life of its own with friendships, charity, philanthropy, physical exhaustion. But it brought all these people together for two great things: fitness and philanthropy. We call it Fitlanthropy. And now we're going to continue it by doing a different challenge for a different charity every month.
Wow. So starting with that, for the idea from doing it in January, you're going to continue on.
We are. And just, people have finished, people are still doing it. Like I said, this little community is formed, and everybody has kind of put their hand up and said, you know what, let's keep this amazing movement going. Let's raise money for additional charities, and let's change up the challenges. So we're planning out February now, and just really looking forward to doing this. This is something that we can do every month. for as long as we can keep it going.
So how can folks find out more about this and get involved?
Well, they can go to Facebook. We have a Facebook group and just search Jesse Itzler, JESSEITZLER, and it'll show up, or the 2017 of Everything Challenge, or go to Instagram and use hashtag 2017 of Everything, and you'll get a lot of information on it. And, as it continues to grow, which it does every day, I think more people post, and I think it'll, you never know when you start something like this where it will take you. You just want to have your intentions to be in the right place. You want to be able to do something that's good, something that you enjoy. And this started with purely good intentions and continues to have that. And that's the reason why so many people have decided to do it and join it. There was no ask for anyone to do anything. People did this on their own. People have now donated without an ask. I wanted to take that off everybody's plate. I'm going to donate for you. But just human nature and the spirit of human nature is so powerful that people have now stepped up and been like, let's keep this going. I want to donate. I want to spread the word. So I think, if we can continue to get this momentum, I love the fact that we've been able to marry two things that are so important to me, which is fitness and philanthropy.
Yeah, well, you've certainly done it well, and it really is amazing how much this has caught fire, and like you said, not only with the participants, but with the additional donors, and it's something that's certainly not just for charity, but it's impacting the lives of all the participants as well. So it really is a remarkable thing that you've done.
It's amazing. People have been posting weight loss. Guys and gals have lost 7 to 12 pounds. I mean, that's just an afterthought for me. I didn't even take that into consideration. And people have also learned by sticking with it a lot about themselves. So some have dropped out, and there's a lesson there. And others have been like, this has been really hard, but after 17 days, I'm looking forward to it. Or I've created a new habit that I never had in my life. And all these valuable lessons. So there's these sub-stories that have emerged as well. And I just want to see how far we can take it.
It really, I think, puts a spotlight on the fact that there really is a difference when someone says that, I've done all that I can do, that most of the time they really mean I've done all that I'm willing to do. And I think you've kind of broken through that barrier for a lot of people and let them see to go past what they used to be willing to do and really pushing more towards what they are capable of doing. So, I think, I want to thank you for coming on today and sharing this information. And, we want to get behind the 2017 of everything. So, I appreciate you letting us know about it and spreading the word about that and coming on and talking about your book and, what got you to where you are today.
Well, I'm really appreciative, and thank you so much for having me. And I enjoyed our chat.
All right. There you have it, folks. Check it out. Hashtag 2017 of everything. We'll get links and information up on this show post. Check out the book, Living with a SEAL, 31 Days, Training with the Toughest Man on the Planet. And until next time on Influencers Radio, remember, you are the only real game changer.
You've been listening to Influencers Radio. To get all past shows and updates on future shows, visit influencersradio.com today or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/influencersradio.